Hi, I'm Dr. Lisa Gasson, and we're back again with another review of a meta-analysis on child and adolescent development. And today we're going to take a look at the question, do kids' own theories of psychological functioning predict their own mental health status? Let's pause for a moment and talk a little bit about what we mean by theories of psychological functioning. The idea here is that all of us, including kids, have some kind of informal idea about how our psychology works. And so there's several handfuls of good studies out there that look at the link between this informal understanding that kids have and the degree to which they have psychological symptomatology. And so we're going to take a look at the research that addresses that link. And in order to do so, we're going to look at a 2015 meta-analysis by Dr. Jessica Schleider from Harvard University and her colleagues. They included 17 studies over which there are several thousand kids as they looked at this question. At least in one study, the kids went down to as young as 4 years of age. Most of the kids look to be about late elementary, early adolescence, but there are kids as young as 4. And these researchers are assessing how well having either what we call an entity view or an incremental view of psychological functioning predicts mental health. Well, what do we mean by entity and incremental views? This is the language of Dr. Carol Dweck, a psychologist who is best known for her work in attribution theory. And basically, she talks about an entity view of some aspect of our psychological functioning, like intelligence, being the view, the informal theory that we are born a certain way, given a certain amount of intelligence, and it's fixed, and there's really not much we can do to change it. So the entity view of a particular aspect of our functioning is kind of this fixed, unchangeable view. An incremental view, as you might guess, is the opposite. It is the view that while we might be at one level, say in intellectual functioning right now, there's a hope that there are strategies we can learn and things we can do and practices that we can have that will help develop that particular set of skills in the future. Okay, so the researchers are looking at the impact of entity or incremental views on psychological functioning uh, in 3 different areas. They look at views of personality, views of peer relationships, and views of intelligence. Let's see what they found. Right? One of the main conclusions that the researchers found is that across those 3 domains of psychological functioning, personality, peer relationships, and intelligence, that having an entity theory in those three domains, any of the 3, predicted more mental health problems. And that's kind of interesting. I mean, for personality and peer relationships, perhaps that's not surprising. If I have little hope that I can improve my personality or my peer relationships, that perhaps naturally leads to some suffering. I think it's interesting that even having an entity theory about my own intelligence, which is kind of this cool cognitive domain, also predicts having more mental health problems. They also collapsed the kids' views about these 3 areas of functioning and just looked at whether having an entity view in general predicted internalizing versus externalizing problems better. And they found that having an entity view kind of across the 3 domains, regardless of which domain you're looking at, predicted moderately having more internalizing problems, such as anxiety or depressive feelings and experiences that you try to hold inside. The predictive power for externalizing problems wasn't as good. Having an entity theory still did predict a little bit having externalizing or behavioral problems, but it better predicted having those internalizing experiences. So having an entity theory of your own personality functioning, of your peer relationships, and even of your intelligence seems to be linked with more psychological suffering. And I think this is a real practical point for those of us who work with kids, in that we need to keep our ears open for the language that the child is using about their own experiences. Is it kind of this fixed, almost hopeless language, or is there an optimism that if I work hard, I can change? And to the degree that they have the former, that entity theory, that fixed theory, we perhaps need to work with them on changing their view of their own psychological functioning. And as therapists, teachers, parents, we probably also need to watch the language that we use about our own functioning and the functioning of others, so that we can be a model of an incremental theory, which seems to be linked with better functioning. That's all for today. I'm Dr. Lisa Gasson, and we'll see you again next time for more information about child and adolescent development.